Today I'll be talking about the Maintenance Provision Rating Scheme, or MPRS scheme as we like to call it. It's a key initiative aimed at raising standards across workshops and maintenance facilities. As you can see here, the scheme is industry backed with input from various leading organisations, including the DFT, Office of the Traffic Commissioner, BVRLA, NFDA, Logistics UK, SMMT, RHA, CPT and DVSA. And as it says at the bottom, Daimler Truck UK were the first major manufacturer to pilot the scheme for the MPRS scheme and for others, to set the example for others in the industry. Why MPRS? I'm going to share a very brief story with yourselves. When I was carrying out some workshop audits, I was carrying out 2 workshop audits on the same day. The first was extremely impressive. It was some of the best, most neatly organised tools, and the technicians were extremely confident in their work. There was also a clear quality assurance system in place, and everything was as you'd have expected it to be for a high quality workshop. And then in the afternoon I found myself in let's say the opposite side of that spectrum. I don't know if any of you are auditors or anything like that, but tools were scattered everywhere. It was completely disorganised. Paperwork wasn't being completed. The overall environment sort of made you question the quality and the standards of the maintenance and equipment that's going on within the workshop. Now, if you're an operator, how do you know which workshop fundamentally is the right one to send your vehicles to? At a first glance, it's quite difficult to be able to recognise that, unless you obviously carry out your own audits and internal audits and such. So fundamentally, this is where MPRS comes in. We're trying to provide a structured, transparent system to assess, benchmark, and improve workshop practices within the industry. So the primary drivers behind MPRS are regulation, safety, and industry accountability. We'll get on in the next slide. We know that maintenance standards vary quite significantly across various different workshops up and down the country. The inconsistency poses significant risks to vehicle safety, operational efficiency, and overall compliance as a whole. Like I said, with the MPRS, we're trying to provide a structured, transparent system for people to be able to assess, benchmark, and improve the workshop practices. The aim fundamentally is not just to set minimum standards, but to improve, to have continuous improvement within the industry across the sector in all workshops. As I like to say quite frequently, there's really only one barrier to entry to operators, and that's fundamentally if an operator can satisfy our regulators that they're able to operate in all respects safely and well, they can expect to be authorised and licensed. So, fundamentally this is the most important issue we face. So just a couple of workshop examples. I know I mentioned in my story, this is basically a good example of a very nice workshop environment with plenty of space and lighting to inspect and conduct maintenance on the vehicles. A working environment such as this is much more likely to lead to that the work being carried out and the maintenance being carried out within the workshop would be significantly more exemplary and of a higher standard and quality. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of visiting some of the less lower quality workshops in your line of work, but this is an example of some that have been seen, and I think the pictures speak for itself. Fundamentally, if you've got your vehicles being maintained in a workshop such as this, you cannot guarantee your quality of your maintenance, and fundamentally it can lead to unreliable, unsafe vehicles and increase the risks, especially not including your staff, just in terms of health and safety and risk of injury from that point of view. We've all heard the phrase ignorance is bliss, and in some cases, almost certainly in the last slide, there is an attitude, there can be an attitude of ignorance is bliss, or let's say, put another way, not knowing certain things can lead to a happier state of mind, especially when it comes to workshop standards. And I think fundamentally we need to shift that culture to a culture of ownership, responsibility, and accountability. I think it's important that the operators have a clear visibility on the competence and the capabilities of the workshops that they rely on, and I think it's, without a framework like MPRS, it is quite difficult to differentiate between a well-run compliant workshop and one that's cutting corners, especially at a glance. You know, obviously, if you go in depth, you can start to look at some of those things in more detail, but sometimes you don't have that option. You know, certain operators might not have the facilities or capabilities to be able to look into that in as much depth. So this is where the MPRS comes in. Okay, so some more of the key principles behind MPRS. As mentioned, making sure that operators take responsibility for the maintenance of their vehicles and the workshops that they engage in. We quite often hear, well, you know, the workshop told us everything was fine, but that's not enough. You know, operators have a duty to verify that their vehicles are being maintained to the right standards, and MPRS helps remove sort of the guesswork that comes from that process to provide clear and measurable criteria for workshop performance. So, you know, for example, if a vehicle fails a roadside check, the responsibility ultimately falls on the operator, not just the workshop. It is the operator, and that's why having visibility into workshop standards is so crucial. And finally, accountability. Penultimately, accountability is one of the key principles of MPRS. It should be remembered that accountability isn't about blame. We're not trying to blame people specifically. You know, fundamentally, we're trying to align the operators and the workshops in a way that ensures that safety is maintained and compliance is maintained across the sector. That said, obviously, you know, accountability of any workshop omissions, errors, mishaps, miscalculations and such, they do still fall on the operator. And you know, getting something wrong in a workshop is bad enough, but it can obviously come with sanctions. It's if the operator who may have little input into the wrong, the issue that went wrong, being fully accountable for it can be quite frustrating in certain circumstances. You know, but if no injury or damage comes from the wrong, often we go, all's well, isn't it, really, in the grand scheme? And you know, fundamentally, it's not. You know, and I think that's a sort of mentality that we need to change. You know, if the wrong or the issue is found on a roadside check or an annual test, you know, the operator will almost certainly, and often does, get sanctioned. You know, this could be a situation where an operator's trusted a maintenance provider to inspect and repair their vehicle, and they didn't do so properly in line with the Guide to Maintaining Roadworthiness. And at the point of failure, the DVSA and ultimately the traffic commissioners can start looking at using their statutory powers to remind or sanction the operator to ensure that they're accountable in the eyes of the law. And because of that, you know, maintenance workshops are the most fundamental responsible point for providing suitable inspection and repair outcomes. Perfect, thank you. Now, going on to the MPRS scheme a little bit more. You know, there are some operators that have the capability to assess their vehicle maintenance suppliers, and unfortunately some don't. You know, there could be a number of different factors for why that is the case. Some people are unwilling to assess. Some people say convenience, price, word of mouth is usually enough. You know, and fundamentally, whilst that has lasted a long time within the industry, it's starting to become slightly more old-fashioned. And I think, you know, there needs to be a degree of a set framework to guarantee this standard. So, MPRS scheme is fundamentally a 5-level rating scheme. You've got the base level of qualified, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. it's very much defined as a rising standard for staff training, the workshop environment, and the type and availability of equipment are the three sort of categories of a breakdown what scheme, rating level you would find yourself at. Noting this, it's also extremely visible register. The whole point of this MPRS scheme is that we have a register based at the end of it that everyone can access, that everyone can see where their nearest workshop providers are, what rating scheme they would be, and just fundamentally ensuring that operators have a simple and transparent tool to help them make informed decisions when it comes to workshop standards in terms of rating. So this doesn't become a sort of word dump. I'm not going to repeat all of the standard requirements as I move up the ratings, okay? Just to clarify, for this presentation, the previous rating condition always remains for the next step, okay, as we go through them. And the higher we rise through the rating, the more additional requirements that will come into place. So the first level is the engaged or qualified level, which is the base rating MPRS accreditation for workshops. It provides essential maintenance and repair services. It ensures basic tools, equipment, and competencies are in place, and it meets those minimum standards. So fundamentally, what you'd be looking at is that staff are qualified, qualified engineers or apprentices, and they qualify under grandfather rights. And that during the last 5 years, at least one staff member would have completed a HGV PSV inspection course, and at least one staff member would have completed a maintenance and repair course. The workshop facilities would be expected to be level and hard-standing workspace available. In terms of equipment and tools, you'd be expected to have access to a roller brake tester, headlamp beam tester, emissions tester, and OBD equipment. A range of workshop tools would be expected for all types of vehicles that are applicable to the workshop, and a calibrated torque wrench. For the levels of engaged and bronze, it's a self-declared audit, so all of the required paperwork and evidence that would need to be submitted to support their audit would be submitted online through digitally through uploads of certificates, access agreements, photographs of facilities and the such. The intention for this is fundamentally to open up and encourage slightly less workshops that might not have been so interested in these sorts of schemes and sort of keeping up to date with industry challenges and evolution and innovation, to encourage them to at least join the scheme. To start at, even if you're starting at engaged or bronze, that's of no harm. We're just trying to overall encourage a fundamental improvement across the industry, and just to try to make workshops safer. So, going on to the bronze rating, as I said, everything previously mentioned in the qualified or engaged level would be applicable. If the workshops do work on hydrogen, electric, gas, there is an expectation for there to be. This is only specific and only applicable if your workshops aren't working on those types of vehicles, is that there would be some degree of expectation for one or two of your staff to hold level 2 EV qualifications or level 2 gas awareness qualifications, but they would only be applicable if the technicians were working on those vehicles in your workshops. So they don't, we're not trying to restrict people and force everyone to do electric and hydrogen and go that way. Right, so carrying on with bronze. Fundamentally, again, you would need full-time qualified engineers who've completed level 2 electric hybrid vehicle awareness course, as well as one engineer who would do the gas and hydrogen, again, only if applicable. It should be noted as well that this criterion will be reviewed in 2027. We recognise that as the sector develops and as the workshops change and more people are moving towards zero emission vehicles and such, that it is changing, but it's not changing at a set pace. So we're happy to review it, and we as a steering group have decided that fundamentally this is a reasonable metric of mechanics so that we can ensure a certain competency within the workshop. As for workshop facilities, a level standing workplace and workspace and undercover workshop facilities would be expected. Again, arrangements in place to access a RBT with loading provisions, a full range of workshop tools, including any specialist tools applicable to your workshop, under vehicle inspection facilities, basic electric or hybrid equipment, including PPE, if applicable, vehicle chassis wash provisions, and the workshop obviously has to be maintained in a clean and tidy environment. Perfect. And like I said, like organisations doing for engaged and qualified, this would be a self audit assessment where the evidence would be uploaded on our platform and then approved accordingly. Okay, moving on to the silver and gold ratings. The silver rating is sort of mainly for mediums. It's aimed at medium-sized workshops that offer comprehensive maintenance services. It introduces slightly more rigorous requirements for staff qualifications, workshop facilities and equipment. At least 50% of technical staff would be expected to have completed a HGV PSV inspection course in the past 5 years, and at least 50% of them would also be expected to have carried out the repair and maintenance level 2 course as well in the past 5 years. There'd be an expectation for at least 2 full-time engineers to hold the level 2 electric and hybrid awareness course, if applicable, and at least 1 qualified engineer working towards a advanced technician scheme or equivalent, as well as a relevant CPD program being in place and a quality assurance system in place at that workshop as well. The workshop facilities would be undercover, fully illuminated workshop facilities with fume extraction for all bays, and illuminated under vehicle inspection facilities as well, suitable for all vehicle trailer types. And a tyre bay and or workshop, or if a customer holds an external tyre contract, that would be fine as well. And arrangements for hydraulic, refrigeration, body repairs, and ADAS calibration. Again, these are only applicable if your workshops are working on these types of vehicles. Going on to the gold rating, and just to add to that, the silver, gold and platinum ratings are in-person audits. They would require in-person audits. They from one of the various companies working in partnership for this scheme. And obviously there'd be additional cost associated with that as well, in the sense that obviously you'd be having your auditor come in and as such. Going back to the gold rating, it's targeted more at the slightly larger workshops, sort of catering more advanced services and the such, ensuring exceptional standards in staff qualifications, facilities, equipment and communication. Staff qualifications there'd be an expectation of 75% or more of their staff to have completed a HGV PSV inspection and the maintenance and repair course in the past 5 years. At least 2 would be level 2 qualified, or 1 level 3 fully qualified electric and hybrid, again if applicable, and the same for the gas and hydrogen for 2 qualified engineers, and at least 1 qualified engineer accessible to each site has a master technician or equivalent qualification. Additionally, there'd be an expectation that there are clear lines of communication between management and administration teams, and that the workshop to ensure technicians understand vehicle history, inspection schedules and work requirements, and that's sort of clearly outlined between yourselves and your staff. As well, for the gold, there'd be expectation for arrangements in place for Lola inspections as well, and that's something that comes in as well at gold and platinum. Okay, and finally I will move on to the platinum level, which is the platinum rating, which fundamentally represents the highest tier of the MPRS scheme. It's tailored for workshops with the most advanced facilities, the highest levels for staff qualifications, and ensuring full compliance with upcoming latest industry standards. So all staff would be expected here to have completed their HGV PSV inspection course and repair and maintenance course, not just 50%, it would be the entire workshop. At least 50% of qualified engineers would be expected to have completed the gas or hydrogen courses if applicable to those workshops, and the same for the electric vehicle courses. Additionally, in terms of communication and management, if you're operating an out-of-hours service at your workshop, the lines of communication between management and the administration team and the workshop are clear and outlined, and they are in place during the out-of-hours as per their statement. And finally, the workshop facilities. The workshop would be either an approved ATF lane or an authorised testing facility, or equipped with the same equipment that would be present within a ATF facility. That would be the expectation for those platinum for the highest level. So I hope I've given you all a reasonable introduction and dive into MPRS, so you guys are the first to sort of hear what some of the fundamental audit criteria are being, what they are going to be, and so I'm happy to share it with you. And if you have any questions, please.
Can in-house maintenance facilities apply for the scheme?
So I'm going to repeat the question just for the camera. So can in-house maintenance facilities apply for the scheme as well? I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be. It would almost certainly.